Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm thrilled to dive into a recap of my recent Japan vlogs. Editing those videos was an absolute blast. It felt like reliving the entire journey all over again. I hope you all enjoyed them as much as I did. Before we dive into the Q&A session about my solo travels, I want to let you know that I've got more Japan content coming your way. Next up, I'll be sharing a 3-part haul featuring everything I got during my trip. But before we get to that, I wanted to wrap up the vlogs with a Q&A session all about my solo travel experiences. Since it was my first time traveling solo, I reached out to you on Instagram for questions, and boy, did you deliver. But before we jump into the Q&A, if you haven't heard of them before, they're a sustainable jewelry brand based in New York, and let me tell you, I've been rocking their pieces for years. From classic designs to bold statements, they've got something for everyone. Plus, they're currently having a sale, so it's the perfect time to snag some meaningful gifts. Check out the links in the description below to shop their collection. Solo travel experience. Alright, let's dive into the questions you sent over about my solo travel adventures. Why solo travel? The first question I received was about why I chose to travel solo instead of bringing my partner along. Well, it boiled down to timing and personal preferences. While I've always wanted to solo travel, my partner had work commitments, and I felt more comfortable exploring Japan solo since I'd been there before and was familiar with the culture and transportation. Navigating solo. Next up, many of you are curious about how I found navigating Tokyo alone, especially in terms of getting around the airport and the city. Let me tell you, Japan's infrastructure is incredibly organized, making it relatively easy to navigate. From clear signage to color-coded train lines, it's a breeze once you get the hang of it. Doing things alone. One recurring question was about how I felt doing activities solo. As an introvert who's used to spending a lot of time alone, I actually enjoyed the solitude. Whether it was shopping, dining, or exploring, I found solace in my own company. However, I did have some challenges, like carrying all my belongings, which leads me to the next point. Challenges of solo travel. Physically, one of the toughest parts was lugging around all my gear and shopping finds. Trust me, navigating crowded train stations with multiple bags is no easy feat, but beyond the physical challenges, there were moments of loneliness, especially on the first night when my friend and I encountered a scary situation. Safety concerns. Speaking of safety, many of you asked about feeling safe as a woman traveling alone. While I took precautions like staying in touch with friends, avoiding certain situations, and relying on Google Translate when needed, there were moments of unease, especially after the incident on my first night. Language barrier. A common concern was the language barrier and whether I learned any Japanese before my trip. Honestly, I didn't, but I found that English signage and basic phrases, coupled with the kindness of locals, helped me get by. Of course, having a friend who spoke fluent Japanese came in handy during some situations. Self-defense. Some of you asked if I brought any self-defense items for safety. While I didn't carry any specific self-defense tools, I took measures like securing my hotel room and staying vigilant in crowded areas. Travel essentials. Another question was about essential items like SIM cards, Wi-Fi, and currency. I relied on my Wise card for currency exchange and had Wi-Fi access through a portable device. It made staying connected and managing finances a breeze. Reflections and future plans. Finally, I was asked about what I would do differently on my next solo trip. Looking back, I'd probably allocate more time for relaxation and spontaneity rather than packing my schedule with activities. And as for future solo travels, destinations like Seoul or Taiwan are on my radar. Alright, that wraps up today's Q&A session about my solo travel experiences in Japan. I want to extend a huge thank you to everyone who submitted questions. I loved chatting with you all. And once again, a big shout out to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to check out their amazing jewelry collection. Until next time, take care and happy travels. Here I am exploring the unique experience of solo travel in Japan. Japan solo travel is easy, delving into why Japan is an ideal destination for solo travelers, highlighting the ease of navigation, efficient infrastructure, and traveler-friendly amenities. People help, discussing the helpful and hospitable nature of the Japanese people, making solo travel a welcoming and enjoyable experience. Solo travel is rewarding, exploring the personal growth and self-discovery that come with solo travel, particularly in a culturally rich and diverse country like Japan. It's personal, emphasizing the freedom and flexibility of solo travel, allowing individuals to tailor their experiences to their own interests and preferences. Solo travel in Japan is natural, reflecting on how solo travel seamlessly integrates into the Japanese culture, with solo diners and explorers being commonplace. Solo travel Japan with no compromises, highlighting the ability to fully immerse oneself in the Japanese experience without having to compromise or accommodate others. Navigating solo, navigating the bustling streets of Tokyo and beyond. Getting around Tokyo, offering insights into navigating Tokyo's extensive public transportation system, from subway lines to colorful signage, making solo exploration a breeze. Reflecting on the emotional aspects of solo travel. What I missed about home, sharing personal sentiments about the aspects of home that were missed during solo travels, such as loved ones, familiar comforts, or beloved pets. Hardest part of solo travel, discussing the challenges and obstacles faced during solo travel, whether it's physical, emotional, or logistical. Safety, addressing concerns about safety as a solo traveler in Japan, including precautions taken and experiences with feeling secure in a foreign environment. Challenging parts, delving deeper into the various challenges encountered during solo travel, from language barriers to cultural differences and strategies for overcoming them. Exploring the breakdown of expenses for a solo trip through Japan. Total spent, discussing the overall budget for the entire trip and providing an overview of the expenses incurred during the journey. Transportation, breaking down the costs associated with traveling between cities and regions, including train fares, bus tickets, and any other modes of transportation utilized during the trip. Accommodation expenses, detailing the expenses related to accommodations, including hotel stays, guest houses, or other lodging options in each destination visited. Dining costs. Exploring the culinary expenditures during the solo adventure. Food, discussing the costs of dining out and sampling local cuisine in Tokyo and various other destinations, highlighting the diversity of food experiences and the associated expenses. Breaking down the expenses incurred in each city visited during the trip. Okyo 5 nights, detailing the costs of accommodation, transportation, and dining during the 5-night stay in the bustling metropolis of Tokyo. Tokyo 5 nights, detailing the costs of accommodation, transportation, and dining during the 5-night stay in the bustling metropolis of Tokyo. Nagano 1 night, discussing the expenses for a 1-night stay in Nagano, including any transportation costs and meals enjoyed in the area. Takayama 3 nights, exploring the costs associated with a 3-night stay in Takayama, including accommodation, transportation, and dining expenses. Recommendations, offering insights and recommendations for prospective solo travelers. Would I recommend solo travel? Providing honest reflections on the solo travel experience in Japan and whether it's suitable for different individuals. Language barrier, exploring strategies for navigating language barriers in Japan, including the use of translation apps, basic phrases, and the kindness of locals. Self-defense, addressing concerns about personal safety and discussing approaches to self-defense while traveling solo, including situational awareness and precautionary measures. Practical tips, practical considerations for solo travel logistics. Wi-Fi/currency, offering tips on staying connected and managing finances while traveling solo in Japan, including recommendations for SIM cards, portable Wi-Fi devices, and currency exchange options. Reflections and future plans. Reflecting on the solo travel experience and considering future adventures. What would I do differently? Sharing personal insights and lessons learned from solo travel experiences, including potential adjustments or improvements for future trips. Next solo trip, discussing potential destinations for future solo adventures, including considerations for cultural experiences, safety, and personal interests. Conclusion, wrapping up the discussion on solo travel in Japan, offering final thoughts, recommendations, and encouragement for solo travelers embarking on their own journeys of exploration and self-discovery.